So, Bishop, obviously we've begun with the celebration of your 25th, your Silver Jubilee, and we have a lot of events and things planned, and people are going to express their feelings about it. But I guess the first question is, what are your own thoughts and reflections as we go for your 25th anniversary of being ordained a bishop?
Well, I don't know about this. First of all, it's been a long time. 25 years is a long time. And yet it's gone by so fast. It seems like we just, maybe not yesterday, but last week that I came here. So in some ways, I guess I'm saying there's a lot of old that's here that I feel I'm a part of and help going, and yet there's still a lot of new. I'm still learning. I'm still seeing new, uncovering new needs and trying to look at new ways of addressing the people and their needs. I often said, when they asked about a question like that, I often say, by the time I get ready to retire, I'll be ready to be a bishop. Because I'm learning, constantly learning new things and hearing God's call in different ways to shepherd the people.
Okay. Great. We've in the research on this anniversary, we discover that you're the longest serving bishop now in the United States, active bishop, ordinary.
Ordinary.
Yes. And you are, as you just mentioned there, retirement coming in a few years, so unless there's some unexpected change, this will be your one assignment as an ordinary bishop. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, it says I'm old. I'm not really old. But, I try to have people put this in perspective. There are bishops that are active and that are ordinaries that have been ordained longer than I. I'm the fourth longest in this state. Bishop Ochoa in Fresno has been bishop longer than I. However, he's been in 3 different places. Right. Bishop Blair and Bishop McGraw are longer than I as a bishop, but they've been in 2 different places. I was ordained for here, and I'm still here 25 years. So, in a sense, yeah, I'm old, but in another sense, it's actually, as I understand it, the way it's supposed to be. You're ordained for a diocese, for a local church, and in a sense, you're wedded to that church. Yes, as part of the bigger church, the universal church. But you're ordained for the people of that local church. And there's been talk ever since I got here, within the first year or 2, that I was going to be moved. I was going to Lubbock. I was going to Santa Fe. I was going to New York. I was going to Sacramento. I was going to Oakland. I was going to San Antonio. I was going to Los Angeles. And I'm still here. And I think that's the way I guess it ought to be. Now there's a question here, because priests, deacons sometimes feel, well, it's just, then we should be able to stay at a parish for 25 years and not be moving around. But I think what sometimes we forget is, as a bishop, and as priests and as deacons, we're ordained for the diocese, for the local church, not for a parish. Now, if the Holy Father says, I need you to go somewhere else, then I go. But I've not had the ambition to go anywhere else, or the desire to go anywhere else, even in the midst of the different conversations that I would be going. So I think it's been a good fit with all its opportunities and challenges. It's been a good fit. and it has helped me. It's helped me grow into this. I'll put this aside just for you to, I don't know how you want to work this. I was dealing with the priest one time, asking him to take part in a particular committee, for a planning committee. And he had come to a couple of those sessions, and then he said no more. And I said, why not? He said, well, I don't know how long you're going to be here. I can't commit myself to your vision if they move you next year. And I said, Father, I don't know how I'm going to be here, how I'm going to be here either. But until I moved, I'm here, and I have to be true to that. But he would not be in.
Really?
Right there. Because they were talking that I was moving here and that I was moving there.
Right.
And so his excuse for not being that is, how could I commit myself to the planning process if I don't know how long you're going to be here?
And this is in the middle to late 90s.
Yeah.
It's kind of an open-ended question. What is unique about the Diocese of San Bernardino?
Well, I kind of equate the Diocese of San Bernardino as Galilee. You know, it is the place that people cross through to go to Los Angeles and Disneyland and Las Vegas and San Diego, Phoenix. And so sometimes you don't know it's there. You just go through it. But when you stop here and you realize what is here, and that in the sense of its people and the faith of its people, then you are, it's more than just an oasis in the desert. It is part of that New Jerusalem. This is still considered a mission diocese, and yet it is wealth in its the dedication and creativity of the people. Because we don't have a lot of resources that other more longer established dioceses would have, in the sense of Catholic institutions of higher learning and religious houses of formation and so forth. We've had to do a lot of it on our own. And that uniqueness has paid off. That the wealth that is here is the people and their openness. We've had to create some things. Necessity is the mother of invention. There's some things we've had to create because we haven't had the resources or the tradition of doing it in a special way. That makes us unique.
Are there any, talking about that day when you were ordained a bishop, are there any special memories that come to mind?
Well, I didn't know anyone here. It was a complete abandonment into this church. I didn't, it's kind of like, you're being taken to surgery. You just completely trust the doctors, in the sense that I didn't know a soul. And here I'm in my first couple of days here, and they're taking me here. Everybody, in a sense, every name, every town, every person looks alike. We had a Phil, and a Bill working in the chancery at that time. Phil, and Bill. Who's who, And we even, on the day of my ordination, we got lost going to the church. Well, I couldn't help. There was no GPS in those days. I couldn't help, but I had been to the church for rehearsal the day before. So now we're going, and I asked the driver, I don't remember seeing this yesterday. Then he realized we were going to the wrong place. So it was in a sense, an an abandonment, I think, because in the sense of trusting.
Right.
I didn't feel abandoned, not that sense, but me trusting this place, these people, the church. I didn't have a say in the liturgy itself. You know, I was asked to choose a reader. So I chose a reader. It was my sister, one reader. And I asked if I could provide the deacons, and they said no, they would provide their own, which is, of course, because it's this local church.
Right.
So it was like, I don't know how you explain it, but here's a kid going to school, your first stage, you know?
Okay.
The other thing was, you know, I was from a place where we had a major city, and that dominated the entire diocese. There are a lot of small towns. There was a lot of empty spaces, but everything kind of came out of that main city, which was San Antonio. Here, there was no such thing. Things were dominated in that sense out of Los Angeles.
Right.
And here it was one city after another, so connected, you know. And then you had these long spaces too, to the desert and to the mountains. But it was difficult getting adjusted to know when are you in Riverside and when are you out and what's next. Oh, you're already in Corona. I didn't know, you know, just one little thing, nothing in between.
Right.
Unless you go out to the desert. So not getting adjusted to that and to the local church. It's a different church. It shows the uniqueness of every church.
Right.
You know, you can't bring one church here. This is a different reality. We're one universal church, but we're made up of unique, particular churches. And I discovered that when I came here. However, how did it change when I became ordinary?
Right.
Well, I was ready. I knew I was more familiar, still learning, but more familiar. Bishop Strayling had set up very easy structure, in a sense, to build on. It was quite open. You could build on it, and that was appealing to me. Some things I didn't have to start anew. I just could build on what we had, and then I could begin some other things. I didn't have to worry. But he'd given a good tone or image to the diocese, also of being a diocese that was moving, was learning, had taken Vatican II seriously in its implementation, even with the challenges that brought. And so it was easy to do that, and I had some familiarity now with some of the things. I just share with you that when I was the auxiliary, and I think I've shared with this before, the press enterprise, they wanted to have a writer shadow me for 4 days.
I think you did tell me about that.
I did tell you that, and I said, I'm going to India. You're welcome to go with me, He was not a Catholic. I think his wife was Episcopalian, I think. But anyway, he asked me all kinds of questions, and one of the questions was, what plans do I have for the diocese? And I said, well, I am the auxiliary bishop. I'm here to assist Bishop Strayling. I don't come with any plans. I come to learn and to contribute to the plans that are developed here. Well, the caption is, no bishop has no plans for diocese. But by 95, I did. Because I came into my own with responsibility, and Bishop Strayling had set the process already for the consultation, for the vision plan. Right. So because I was a part of that, I could help lead it. And so that process was not stymied in any way. It wasn't, it didn't end. It just continued. Whereas maybe somebody else would have come in, they'd have to get to know everybody and everything.
Right. So that kind of answers, or starts to answer the next question, which is, fairly early on there, the visioning process goes forward under your leadership, and you're thinking, okay, well, this is like my first priority why was that so important to you?
Well, because I came to know that this diocese was made up of a lot of unique entities, and by that I mean the vastness with small towns and major towns, priests from all over, religious and diocesan. It was like a scattering of a lot of things that did not sense yet a direction that they all had in common.
Right.
Everybody, in a sense, was doing something good, but we weren't tied to each other. And that happens in a new diocese. And so there were some areas that were not receiving as much attention. And so we needed to bring them on board too. But I got to witness the need to have people focus on a vision that at least we could identify who we are, because we're so different and mixed in many, many different ways, but who we are together is what was needed. And so that was the burden of the vision statement and then the core values.
Okay. Bishop, what have been some of the most gratifying moments of your episcopacy here these last 21 years?
I think right now I'm able to appreciate some of the things because formation is, to me, the key. And formation doesn't happen one day. It's a journey. It's like being it's like a spiral. You work, and then a time comes when you're at the next level. And you go around and you go around. You don't know when, might be months, might be years, you're at the next level. And to see that kind of maturity on the part of the people of the diocese, of their faith, their church, owning their church, trying to understand the uniqueness of their church with its multiplicity of entities, whether that is social status, education, ethnicity, age, economic, where people begin to see that. I guess what I'm saying is that to see the growth, I think it's like a father or grandfather, when you can see that there is that, what the years have done, and with all its challenges, how healthy it appears to be. You see new volunteers, you see people that were hesitant about going into formation programs, how they are responding to them, how they hunger for them, how we're developing them to meet the different needs. Those are the satisfying things when people come up to you and they say, Bishop, thank you for the formation programs. And I get that all the time. And that means that the offices are really in touch with these people. There's a great deal of gratitude on the part of the people for what the church here has offered through the years, and that is satisfying.
Anything else you wanted to add there, Bishop?
Let me see what I have there. I think one of the others is the growth of new ministries. As people begin to share their stories and their needs, response has been, in some ways, to to invite people to ministry, to each other, and ministry in the name of the church. So the growth of new ministries.
Okay. Then, of course, on the other hand,
the most challenging
moments of your
I can't deny that the most challenging time was the sex abuse crisis. To come to that kind of awareness of how people had been hurt and victimized by the church, it's extremely painful, and rightly so. Took a lot of energy and time on the part of many people to help understand and address this. So that was a very painful time. I don't think there could have been anything more painful than to see the pain that was caused by others, and how that, in fact, then hurt the church, meaning the people, the credibility of the church, the trust in the church, and the church had made this. I mean, we did that. It was painful for many people. Kind of put a stop on a lot of other things because we needed to do this, we had to do that. But in addition to that, I think part of the challenges has been, I don't think there's a real ownership yet on the part of the church, this local church, for the need for vocations. I don't think there's an ownership yet. It is true, that we have a good group of priests, but they are men, generally speaking, that are coming here from other places. We're not nurturing ourselves. We don't have a culture of vocations in many of our parishes. People, they may not like some attributes or characteristics of some of the priests that serve them, or they may love them completely, but they're not thinking about what they're leaving their kids and grandkids, that future. We've grown in the number of vocations, but it's not anywhere near what is needed by the diocese. Just basically needed by the diocese. And first, the disappointing thing is that people haven't owned that yet. The other is that I think that we have not appreciated, in fact, at the local level, the responsibility we have for accompanying our brothers and sisters in the faith. Sometimes our attitude or mentality is merely receiving the sacraments. Make sure you're baptized, or make sure you have your first communion or your confirmation, or get married in the church. But the community of faith isn't walking with these people. There isn't that accompaniment of how to live the sacrament. We haven't become the missionary disciples that the Holy Father has asked us to be. We're not out. We wait for people to come to the church. That's Old Testament, to the temple. We haven't taken to heart the mandate to go out into the world. That wherever we are, in whatever profession we are, wherever we are, that we're living our faith out there. And part of that is walking with the people. I think that's the calling. I think that's part of that last one too.
Okay. Yeah, that was looking at the future.
Yeah, I think, one of my worries is that we're not out there, and there's a great temptation not to care, to become indifferent,
right.
To become cold and not compassionate, and that is not living the gospel. If we no longer feel with and for the people that are less fortunate, whether they be homeless or orphaned or immigrant or aged, Alzheimer, whatever, that we can't feel and enter in solidarity with the people, then we're in a serious problem. And I think that right now the call in the battle is to fight that kind of indifference, that kind of closed or cold-heartedness that has eaten away the compassion that we're supposed to have for each other. I think, to me, that's part of the challenge of the future. We need witnesses, more witnesses, faithful people that accompany others. I think that we're on the right road, but we can easily get lost like everybody else. Can easily get lost. To be on the right road takes a renewal of the conviction, a renewal of the faith, an evaluation of where we are, not being comfortable.
Anything else to add on what gives you hope for the future, Bishop?
What gives me hope is that there's a lot of families and young people that are hungry now I believe, for a knowledge and a relationship with God. Now, the church is not necessarily where some of them are looking, but even those in the church are asking the questions about wanting to know more. And that's a hope. That's a hope. People are looking for. They may not be satisfied with what they have if it's going to cost them, but at least they're looking, and the church has to be there. The young families, and in a sense, we're not doing enough at the parish level with them, but the young families, they need help. I think that we need to help build in people also, especially starting with the young, a sense of for want of a better way of saying it, some theologizing, to look at the experiences of our life and to look at where God is there, to help children and parents and families go through that, to give them the kinds of tools and the right questions to ask themselves where they see God in their dreams and in their pain. I think people are ready for it, but I don't know that we are ready to help them and walk with them in that. Give me another 25 years and we'll see what we can do.